Hi everybody and welcome to Push Your Luck video. My name is Eric and today we'll be looking at Nyet. Now Nyet is this is actually a reprint. The original version was released in 1997 and so this new reprint is just released in 2015. So Nyet is by designer Stefan Dorra, who did some of my favorite games. One of my first games that I actually played is Picnic, which is also by Stefan Dorra, and a hidden gem that's not very popular, not very well known, but it's actually quite a good game. It's called Milestones as well. So those are the games that Stefan Dorra did. Now, Nyet is a 2 to 5 player game. It plays about 30 minutes or so, and it is a trick-taking game, but it's a trick-taking game with a twist. So the main twist is that at the beginning, players are kind of determining what that rounds tricks, that rounds trumps, that rounds points will be like at the beginning of that round. And then after that, players will decide who their team players are, and then they'll start the game as a normal trick-taking game. Then at the end, players will count how many points they have, and there are many ways of ending the game. You can either play a fixed number of rounds, or you can play up to a certain number of points, and whoever has the most points will win. So Nyet is by IELLO. This is a review copy, so thanks to IELLO for the review copy as well. So let's take a look at the components of this game. How to play the game, and what do I think about the game. Alright, so this is what you get in the box of Nyet. Now, first thing you will notice is that the box has those magnetic covers that some of the board games have. So this is quite an unusual box cover, but it's quite functional. I mean, the magnet does hold the thing in place, and it's quite a nice, small form, good quality box. Right, so you have the rules of the game, and you also have these components. So the game comes with very nice postcards that show you the different characters. I really love the art. The artwork is so cool. It does lend a sense of does bring a thematic sense to the game. Right, so you have the Siberian tiger and it's all very good artwork, you can see. Alright, so I really love the art. Each player will also have his own character card. This is to tell you who you are. Each player will also have some of these Nyet tokens. Alright, throughout this video, I'll be saying Nyet a lot, and it's quite a fun thing to say, Nyet. So each of you will have these Nyet tokens. Alright, there will be, I think, 6 of them. There's a game board as well, where at the beginning of the round, each player will then be putting their Nyet tokens, and this will determine how you play the round. Then there's a bunch of cards, so there's 60 cards. There will be 4 different suits, as you can see. The blue flag, red star, yellow sickle, and the green hammer. Then there's also the numbers are from 1 to 13. Alright, there will be 3 ones per set. Alright, because ones are the super trumps. Alright, I'll explain all this later on. So the cards are the tarot size cards. Alright, but they're nicely done, quite good quality. So, and all the components of the game are very well done. So how do you play the game of Nyet? So first, depending on the number of players, you'll be dealing out the cards. So for 4 players, you'll be playing all 60 of the cards. So you'll be dealing out all the cards to each of the players. Then after that, beginning with a start player, now the player will take one of their Nyet tokens and will place it in any of these slots. So what do these slots do? So first thing first, the first row, first player, players will be placing their Nyet tokens on that particular item, which means that option that they place on will no longer be valid. So for example, if I place it on here, that means the crane will not be the first player for this round. Alright, if I place it on here, there'll be other things may happen, but this slot will not be available for the discard. Alright, so I'll explain what all this does. So first player, the players will keep placing Nyet tokens until only 1 slot is available for each row. And then after that, nobody else can place their Nyet tokens on that row. They must put it somewhere else. So this will happen, will continue until all the rows will have only 1 slot available. Alright, and then the players are ready to begin the round. So what are these rows? First player, this means that the slot that is available, that character will be the first player. That means the first player will get to choose who will be their teammates. Alright, and then that first player also will start the round. Discard. This means how many cards you will need to discard before the start of the round. So this means you discard one card. This means you discard two cards. This means you discard one card except for ones. So you cannot discard any ones card. This means that you pass one card to the left. This means that there's no discard in this round. Trump. So this will determine which suit is the trump for this round. Right? So this is quite straightforward. Super trump. This means that which of the ones and of that suit will become the super trump. That means whatever you play can trump the trump cards. This is interesting as well because it also means that now whatever, let's say for example, this is the case. Alright, let's say this is the case. This also means that now the blue ones are also counted as red. Alright, so this will be more obvious when you play the game later on. Now the last thing you have is points. So this will tell you how many points you will get per trick that you take. So you notice that there's also a -2 here. So you could be playing a game where every trick you take is -2. So you're trying to avoid getting tricks for that particular round. Alright, so after you determine all this, then the game proceeds just as normal, like a trick-taking game. So when you play, let's say I'm the first player, I play the yellow sickle 6. All other players must play the yellow sickle 6 unless they do not have any yellow. They must all play the yellow sickle cards. Unless you have no more yellow sickle cards, then you can play any card they want. So if they play the trump, then you will usually win the trick. If someone plays a super trump, then that super trump will win the trick as well. Now when the game ends, then when the round ends, then you count points per each trick that you have taken, which will be determined by what you did not block here, as well as if you won a trick and your opponent plays a 1, you will now keep the 1 aside as a trophy. So you'll be scoring each ones that you won from your opponents through your tricks, alright, as a trick as well. So what do I mean? Let's say I won 6. Let's say the points is in this format, for example, alright, and I won 6 tricks and 2 ones, alright, which means that 6 times 2 is 12 points. Also, each of the ones will give me 2 points each. So I'll be getting, effectively is 8 times 2. So I get 16 points, alright. So that's how you score points during the game. And everybody in your team will score that amount of points. So then you start the round again. You redistribute the cards again, and take off all the Nyet tokens, and then you will do the same thing again and you play another round. So as I mentioned, the game can end depending on the number of players. Let's say for 4 players, you play 8 rounds. Then whoever has the most points will win. You could also play a variant where you play up to 100 points, for example. And then whoever reaches 100 points first will win the game. So that is the game of Nyet. Quite simple, quite easy to understand, and easy to play as well. So let's go to my thoughts about Nyet. So what do I think of Nyet? It's a fun game. I do not play a lot of bridge. So I'm not very good at bridge. And I do play a fair bit of trick-taking games, but usually trick-taking games are quite standard. There's not much variety to it. But I like how the first part where you decide what kind of how the round will be like. This is quite interesting. So it's a bit like if you play games like Raid 7 where it determines what kind of a win condition it is. So this board will help you determine what kind of round that is, and it's a very interesting part of the game where you're placing it. You're trying to remember what your opponents have placed, because that will kind of suggest what cards they have in their hand, and because that will be very important, because when you are choosing who to be your team member, having the information here will help you to determine whether that person will be a good team member or not. Or you could even want to sabotage other people. So you could choose someone who is already in a league and you're trying to bring that person down. Or you're trying to make it difficult for that person to get any points. But that could also be detrimental to you. But it could also help you because maybe you're second and you're trying to mess around with the player who's in the lead, for example. So this is also a bit of the I think it's also a bit difficult for the gamers who play the game, because there's so many things, so many information you need to keep track of. It can be quite difficult and quite tedious as well, because it takes a long time to like place here, place there, place there, place there. After a while, I'm pretty sure you'll get it. After a while, you kind of it's easier to understand all the different roles, and it's only 5 different roles. But in the initial part, when you're placing the tokens, it can be a bit especially if you do not have cards of the particular trump, for example, and let's say you're playing 5 players, and each of them, oh, I have a lot of cards of red, for example, and then their opponents start to place tokens, and then they cover up the red, and you're like, oh, I'm screwed because my hand is not effective after that. But you could try to convince whoever has a better hand to pick you as a team member, so that you still can score some points at least. So that's interesting. So it's an interesting balance here. All right, this is where the interesting part. I feel the interesting strategy that happens for the game. The game itself, when you play the game, is a very standard trick-taking game. But the 3 ones are kind of interesting because you need to know when to play the 1 so that you do not let your opponents eat your 1 and score a trophy. So for example, let's say when you're playing with a team member and you know your team member is winning, you could forfeit the 1 and put the 1 out so that your team wins the 1. So if your team wins the 1, you do not get bonus points, but at the same time, you will also not let your opponent score your 1s as a trophy, so there's more points for them. So yeah, so Nyet is a very interesting game. Some of my friends who've played it, they said that, well, they could always play bridge and it might be similar as well. But I feel that with the nice artwork, and this board as well, I think it will play better or play as good as if you play bridge a lot. This will be something that is up your alley. They could have reduced the number of rows here to make this process much more easier. There's not much analysis paralysis, but overall, all in all, Nyet is a good game. So I recommend it. And once again, thanks to IELLO for this review copy, and thank you for watching.